The Galactic Council's emergency alert system had not been activated in over 3 centuries. When it blared to life, many of the elder representatives assumed it was merely a drill. They were wrong. "Counselors, we have an unprecedented situation," announced High Admiral Vox, his forearms trembling slightly as he addressed the hastily assembled gathering. "A human vessel has been detected in the Nexus Void, Forbidden Zone 7. The chamber erupted in chaos. Forbidden zones were designated as such for good reason: cosmic anomalies, dangerous weapons testing grounds from long-extinct civilizations, or worse. Nexus Void was perhaps the most dangerous, a region of space where the laws of physics seemed to break down entirely. "Impossible," declared Counselor Grip, his scaled skin flickering between shades of disbelief. "No ship can survive. The Void. The tidal forces alone would tear apart any known vessel. Yet there it is," said Admiral Vox, displaying the holographic image of an unmistakably human-designed ship. Blocky, inelegant, but somehow intact within the swirling chaos of the Void. "The CSS Dauntless, a human exploration vessel that disappeared 3 years ago near the Orion Spur." Counselor Mira, the representative from the Luminal Collective, stood up. "Have we made contact?" "All attempts have failed," replied Vox, "but our sensors show life signs. Somehow, humans are alive inside that vessel." The Council's historian, an ancient being named Tom, who had observed humanity's rise from their first primitive space stations, cleared his throat. "We mustn't forget humanity's peculiar qualities. Their ships are crude, but they possess remarkable adaptability." "This isn't adaptability," said Admiral Vox firmly. "This is impossible. Our most advanced ships can't enter the Void without being crushed or torn apart. Yet this human vessel just appeared there, intact." "Could it be a weapon?" asked one of the more paranoid counselors. "Unlikely," said Tom. "Humans are aggressive, yes, but they lack the technology to use the Void as a staging ground. Besides, their ship is displaying distress signals. They're trapped, not invading." The Council debated for hours. Some argued for immediate destruction of the vessel. The risks were too great. Others advocated for a rescue mission, citing the Galactic Charter's requirements for aid to stranded vessels. Still others wanted to study the phenomenon from a distance, understanding how the impossible had become possible. Finally, High Counselor Zan made the decision. "We will send a rescue expedition, not just for the humans' sake, but for ours. If they have discovered something about the Void, we need to know. Captain Reed of the Galactic Rescue Vessel." Mercy was summoned and given his orders. Assemble a team, approach the Void, attempt contact with the human vessel, and if possible, extract its crew. "Select your team carefully," warned Zan. "We have no idea what you'll encounter." Reed nodded gravely. He had worked with humans before, respected their tenacity, if not their recklessness. "I'll take our best." As the meeting adjourned, Admiral Vox pulled Reed aside. "There's something else you should know. Our deep scans of the Dauntless show temporal anomalies. The ship isn't just in a place it shouldn't be. It may be from a time it shouldn't be." Reed's antennae twitched in confusion. "What are you saying?" "The Dauntless was reported lost 3 years ago, correct? But the quantum dating of the vessel's hull indicates it's aged nearly 30 years. Reed stared at the hologram of the stranded ship. "So either it's been in the Void for decades, or," Vox finished, "it's come from the future." The rescue team assembled on the Mercy was a testament to the diversity of the Galactic Council. Reed had chosen representatives from 7 different species, each with unique skills that might prove useful in the impossible mission ahead. His first officer was Drell, a crystalline being from the silicon-based world of Pterodex. Drell could withstand extreme conditions that would kill most organics. The medical officer, Pax, was a gelatinous entity who could extend tendrils into injured bodies to heal from within. The engineer, Bolt, was a compact, 6-limbed creature, whose species had invented faster-than-light travel. "The approach will be dangerous," Reed briefed them as they prepared to depart. "No ship has ever successfully entered the Nexus Void and returned. We'll be making history, or becoming part of it." "What makes you think we can succeed where others have failed?" asked Lorne, the security officer, a massive reptilian with natural armor plating. Reed hesitated. Honestly, the humans already did. Somehow. The Mercy departed amid solemn ceremony. Many in the council believed they were witnessing the last voyage of a doomed ship. The journey to the edge of Forbidden Zone 7 took 3 days, during which Reed studied everything known about the CSS Dauntless. It was a standard Earth exploration vessel, nothing remarkable in its design or capabilities. Its captain, Jack Harlow, had a solid record but no extraordinary achievements. The crew numbered 27, all human except for an AI navigator and a Centaurian engineer. Still no response to our hails, reported Drell as they approached the swirling boundary of the void. Reed stared at the view screen. The void was beautiful in its terrible way. A storm of cosmic energies that twisted light itself. And there, impossibly, sat the Dauntless, enveloped in a strange bubble of calm. "Sensors are going crazy," said Bolt. "The ship is there, but also not there. It's like it's phasing in and out of our reality." "The temporal readings are off the chart," added Drell. "Admiral Vox was right. That ship is experiencing time differently than we are." Reed made his decision. "We can't enter the void with the Mercy. It would tear us apart. Prepare the shuttle, the smallest team possible." "Captain," protested Pax, "that's suicide." "Perhaps," admitted Reed. "But look, there's a pattern to the energy fluctuations around the Dauntless. A corridor, almost. If we time it right, we might reach them." Hours later, Reed piloted the shuttle himself, with only Drell and Pax accompanying him. As they approached the boundary of the void, Reed followed the energy patterns he'd observed, diving into what seemed like a momentary thinning in the chaos. The shuttle shuddered violently, warning alarms blared. For a moment, Reed thought they'd made a fatal mistake. Then suddenly they were through, floating in the strange bubble of calm surrounding the Dauntless. "Incredible," whispered Drell, staring at the readings. "This area is perfectly stable. It's as if the laws of physics have been rewritten." They approached the human vessel cautiously. Its hull showed signs of incredible stress. Metal, warped, in impossible ways, scorch marks that seemed to shift and move when viewed directly. Yet, impossibly, it remained intact. "Dauntless. This is Captain Reed of the Galactic Council vessel Mercy. Do you copy?" Silence stretched long, then crackled into a distorted voice. "This, Captain Harlow. Found us." Reed exchanged glances with his crew. "We're going to dock and board. Be ready for anything." The airlock cycled open, and they stepped into the human vessel. The interior was dimly lit by emergency systems. Gravity functioned normally, but something felt wrong, as if time itself flowed differently here. A human approached them, tall, thin, with a haunted expression. "Captain Harlow," he introduced himself. "You have no idea how long we've been waiting." Reed looked at him closely. According to the files, Harlow had been 43 when the Dauntless disappeared. The man before him looked at least 70. "Captain Harlow," Reed said carefully. "What happened to your ship?" "How did you get here?" Harlow laughed, a brittle sound that contained no humor. "That's the question, isn't it? We've been asking ourselves for 30 years. Come, there's something you need to see." He led them deeper into the ship, toward what the humans called the bridge. The bridge of the Dauntless was unlike anything Reed had ever seen on a human vessel. The standard control panels remained, but they were augmented with strange crystalline growths that pulsed with inner light. Holographic displays showed mathematical equations that seemed to shift and rewrite themselves continuously. "What is all this?" asked Drell, fascinated despite the danger. "Modifications," replied Harlow, running a hand fondly along one of the crystal formations. "Necessary adjustments when you're trapped in a place where reality itself is negotiable." The remaining crew of the Dauntless, only 15 of the original 27, watched the rescue team with wary eyes. They had aged beyond their years, their faces lined with the stress of their extraordinary imprisonment. "You still haven't explained how you got here," Reed prompted. Harlow sighed deeply. "We were on a routine exploration mission near the Orion Spur when we encountered something our instruments couldn't identify. A fold in space, we called it. Our scientist, Dr. Wells, wanted to investigate." A woman stepped forward, her hair completely white. It should have been nothing more than a gravitational anomaly. But when we approached, it opened, swallowed us whole. We found ourselves here, continued Harlow. At first we thought we were dead. The ship was being torn apart by forces we couldn't comprehend. Then Alan, he gestured to an elderly man hunched over a modified console, discovered the resonance. Resonance? Asked Pax. A frequency, explained Alan without looking up from his work. Every part of the universe vibrates at a certain frequency. The void is chaotic because it contains countless overlapping frequencies. But if you can match them, harmonize with them, you can stabilize a bubble within the chaos, finished Drell, understanding dawning. Remarkable. Survival is a powerful motivator, said Harlow grimly. We lost 12 people before we figured it out, and once we did, we discovered something else. He led them to a viewport. From this angle, they could see deeper into the void, beyond the protective bubble surrounding the ship. Strange structures were visible, geometric patterns that seemed to fold in on themselves impossibly. There's architecture in the chaos, said Dr. Wells. Deliberate constructions. Someone, or something, built this place. Reed felt a chill run down his spine. The forbidden zones were established because they were dangerous, not because they were constructed. Your council got it wrong, said Harlow flatly. This isn't a natural phenomenon. It's a technology so advanced it appears magical to us. We've spent 30 years studying it, trying to understand. And have you? Asked Drell. Enough to know we've stumbled onto something enormous, replied Dr. Wells. The void doesn't just bend space, it bends time. That's why we've aged 30 years while only 3 passed outside. Alan spoke up, his voice cracking with age. We think it's a testing ground, or maybe a prison. The mathematics suggest multiple dimensions intersecting here, controlled by those structures. But who built it? Asked Reed. And why? We don't know, admitted Harlow. But we've been able to communicate with something. Not directly, but through mathematical sequences. It's how we've survived this long. Reed exchanged glances with his team. This was far beyond their rescue mission parameters. The council needed to know what the humans had discovered. Captain Harlow, he said formally, the Galactic Council has sent us to extract you and your crew from the void. Harlow's expression hardened. We're not leaving. What? Reed was stunned. But you've been trapped for 30 years, and in that time, we've learned more about the fundamental nature of reality than all of human science discovered in its entire history. Dr. Wells interjected passionately. We're on the verge of understanding the entities that built this place. Besides, added Alan with dark humor, we've modified ourselves as well as the ship. We're no longer fully human. The void is part of us now. Reed stared at them, realizing the truth in Alan's words. Subtle luminescence flowed beneath their skin, reminiscent of the crystal formations throughout the ship. These weren't just humans, anymore. Then what do you want from us? Asked Pax. Harlow smiled, the expression sitting strangely on his aged face. A messenger. Someone to tell the council what we found, and to warn them. Warn them about what? Reed asked. The builders are returning, said Harlow, and they've noticed us. Back on the Mercy, Reed's report to the Galactic Council caused an uproar. The idea that the Forbidden Zones were artificial constructs and that their creators might be returning threatened to upend millennia of scientific understanding. This is preposterous, declared Counselor Grip during the emergency session. These humans have clearly been driven mad by their isolation. Perhaps, conceded Reed. But their technology is undeniable. They've survived in an environment that should have destroyed them instantly. And the modifications to their ship, to themselves, are beyond anything in our scientific archives. High Admiral Vox, who had remained silent during most of the debate, finally spoke. What exactly did they ask of us, Captain Reed? Reed hesitated. They want the Council to send scientists, researchers, people who can help them understand what they've discovered. They believe the void contains knowledge that could transform our understanding of reality itself. And this warning about the builders returning? Asked High Counselor Zan. According to Captain Harlow, the structures in the void have been dormant, for what they estimate to be millions of years. But recently they've detected changes, energy fluctuations, realignments of the geometric patterns. They believe something is awakening. The council chamber fell silent. The implications were staggering. "We need to quarantine the entire sector," suggested one counselor. "Whatever is happening in the void, we shouldn't interfere." "Impossible," countered another. "If these builders are as advanced as the humans suggest, a quarantine would be meaningless." Tom, the ancient historian, spoke up. "Throughout galactic history, we've encountered remnants of civilizations far more advanced than our own. The ring worlds of Andromeda, the quantum archives of Betelgeuse. Each time, we've studied them cautiously, respectfully. This situation deserves the same approach." "There's another factor," added Reed. "The humans have developed a method to predict the thinning periods in the void's boundary. They claim another will occur in approximately 50 days. They want to send one of their crew out with research data." "Who?" asked Vox sharply. "Their engineer, Sam, the youngest member of their crew, only in his 50s, the one least affected by the changes." The council deliberated for days. Meanwhile, the Mercy, Reed and his team studied the limited data they'd been able to bring back from the Dauntless. It was simultaneously fascinating and terrifying. Glimpses of mathematical principles that seemed to defy logic. Energy readings that fluctuated in patterns suggesting intelligence. "What do you think, Drell?" Reed asked his first officer privately. "Were they human anymore?" Drell's crystalline form pulsed thoughtfully. "Not entirely. They've adapted to survive in an impossible environment. Evolution accelerated by necessity." "And they're warning about the builders?" "If they're right, this could be the most significant event in galactic history," said Drell. "First contact with a civilization capable of engineering reality itself." After much debate, the council reached a decision. They would send a scientific vessel to maintain position near the void, ready to receive the human messenger when the next thinning occurred. Meanwhile, all ships were ordered to maintain a safe distance from Forbidden Zone 7. The waiting began. Days stretched into weeks. Reed was ordered to remain with the Mercy, observing the void from a safe distance. The scientific vessel Inquiry arrived, bristling with sensors and carrying some of the most brilliant minds in the galaxy. Exactly as the humans had predicted, 49 days after Reed's team had visited the Dauntless, the swirling chaos of the void began to show signs of thinning. A small shuttle emerged, piloted by a single human. "This is Sam Turner of the CSS Dauntless," came the transmission. "Requesting permission to dock." The human who emerged from the shuttle was clearly the youngest of the Dauntless crew, but still showed signs of the same transformation. His skin had a subtle luminescence, and his eyes reflected light in ways no human eyes should. "I bring a message," he said, holding out a crystal similar to the growths Reed had seen on the Dauntless. "And a warning." The crystal Sam Turner brought from the Dauntless defied conventional analysis. It seemed to be both organic and technological, growing and changing even as scientists attempted to study it. When placed in specialized readers, it projected complex mathematical equations and what appeared to be star charts, but with configurations unlike any known galaxy. "It's not just data," Sam explained to the assembled scientists aboard the Inquiry. "It's a language, the language of the builders." Sam himself became the subject of intense study. Though he appeared human, medical scans revealed profound alterations to his cellular structure. Crystalline formations had integrated with his nervous system, creating what one xenobiologist described as a biological quantum computer. "We didn't do this to ourselves intentionally," Sam explained when questioned. "It happened gradually. The void changes you." High Counselor Zan arrived personally to interview the human messenger. "Your captain claimed the builders are returning." "What evidence supports this?" Sam's luminescent eyes focused on Zan. "For 30 years, the structures in the void were static. We studied them, learned from them, but they were dormant. 6 months ago, they began to change." He activated a portable projector, showing holographic images captured from the Dauntless. The geometric structures Reed had glimpsed were now in motion, reconfiguring themselves into increasingly complex patterns. "We believe the void is a nexus, a crossroads between dimensions," Sam continued. "The builders created it as a gateway. The reactivation suggests they're preparing to use it again. To what end? Asked Zan. We don't know, admitted Sam. But we've deciphered enough of their mathematics to know they perceive reality very differently than we do. To them, galactic civilizations like ours might be as significant as bacterial colonies are to us. The implications chilled everyone present. Throughout history, when technologically superior civilizations encountered less advanced ones, the outcomes were rarely positive for the latter. There's more, Sam added. Captain Harlow believes human physiology has a unique resonance with the Void's energy patterns. It's why we survived when your ships couldn't enter. It's why we've been able to understand as much as we have. This revelation sparked fierce debate among the council representatives. Some saw it as an opportunity, humans as mediators with an advanced intelligence. Others viewed it with suspicion. Could the humans be manipulated by whatever dwelled in the Void? We need to establish direct communication, insisted Sam. The Dauntless has proposed a joint mission. Your technology combined with our understanding of the Void could create a stable corridor, allow controlled study without the time dilation effects we experienced. The proposal was bold, perhaps reckless, yet the potential knowledge to be gained was immense. While the council deliberated, Reed sought out Sam privately. The human had been given quarters on the inquiry, though he rarely slept. May I ask you something personal? Reed requested, sitting across from the transformed human. Sam nodded, his luminescent eyes tracking Reed's movements with unnerving precision. Do you regret it? 30 years in the Void? Changed into whatever you are now? Sam was silent for a long moment. I was 25 when we were pulled into the Void. I had a fiancé on Earth, parents, friends. All gone now, of course. They've lived their lives, probably mourned me decades ago. He raised his hand, watching the subtle glow pulse beneath his skin. But I've seen things no human was ever meant to see. I've glimpsed the architecture of reality itself. How can I regret that? And you truly believe these builders are returning? Yes, said Sam with absolute conviction. And we need to be ready when they do. 3 days later, the council reached its decision. A joint mission would proceed, but with strict protocols. Specially shielded probes would be sent first, followed by a modified vessel carrying a mixed crew of council scientists and volunteers from the Dauntless. The announcement was barely made when alarms blared throughout the inquiry. The Void was changing dramatically, the swirling chaos intensifying, patterns shifting rapidly. It's happening faster than we predicted, said Sam, staring at the sensor readings. They're coming through. The Void's boundary pulsed, expanded, then contracted sharply. Space itself seemed to fold, creating a visible distortion that spread outward. All ships, retreat to safe distance, ordered Admiral Vox. As the inquiry's engines powered up, Sam grabbed Reed's arm. It's too late for that. They're already here. The distortion emanating from the Void expanded rapidly, washing over the assembled ships like a wave. Reed expected destruction, the delicate instruments of the inquiry crushed or the hull breached, but instead experienced something far stranger. For a brief moment, he perceived reality through multiple dimensions simultaneously. He saw the ships not as three-dimensional objects, but as complex patterns extending through time and space. He saw the crews inside not as discrete individuals but as intricate energy configurations, connected to each other and to the universe around them. Then, as suddenly as it began, the effect dissipated. The ships remained intact, but communications were flooded with panicked reports as crew members across the fleet described similar experiences. What was that? Demanded Vox, visibly shaken. A ripple effect, explained Sam, seeming unaffected. The barrier between dimensions thinning as they cross over. They? Asked Reed. Sam pointed to the view screen. Where the Void had been churning in chaos, a structure was now visible, an enormous geometric shape that seemed to rotate through impossible angles, appearing different from every perspective. That's just what we can perceive of it, said Sam. Most of it exists in dimensions we can't see. The structure continued to materialize, growing more complex by the second. It resembled nothing in known space, neither natural formation nor constructed vessel. Parts of it seemed solid, others transparent or partially phased out of normal space-time. It's Beautiful, whispered Drell, Reed's first officer. All ships, maintain position, ordered Vox. No aggressive actions. For hours, the fleet watched as the structure fully materialized. Attempts to scan it yielded contradictory results, readings suggesting it was simultaneously organic and mechanical, ancient and newly formed, generating enormous energy yet absorbing all nearby radiation. A communication request finally came, not through conventional channels, but as a mathematical sequence detected by the inquiry's quantum arrays. "They want to talk," said Sam, his crystalline implants pulsing rapidly. "I can translate." In the conference room of the inquiry, Sam connected himself to the ship's systems using interfaces hastily constructed by the science team. His altered physiology allowed him to serve as a biological interpreter between the aliens' mathematical language and concepts the council representatives could understand. What followed was less a conversation than a fundamental exchange of perspectives. The entities, which Sam translated as calling themselves shapers, existed primarily in dimensions beyond normal space-time. They had created the void as one of many nexus points that allowed them to interact with the lower dimensions. "They're not hostile," Sam explained, his voice strained by the effort of translation. "They're curious. Our universe is as strange to them as theirs is to us." "Why have they returned now, after millions of years?" asked Zan. Sam conveyed the question, through mathematical sequences. The answer, when it came, sent a chill through the room. "They never left," translated Sam. "Time works differently for them. What we perceived as millions of years was a brief interval in their existence. They've been watching us evolve." More information flowed through Sam. The Shapers had seeded nexus points throughout the universe, observing how different species interacted with them. Some ignored the forbidden zones entirely. Others studied them from afar. Humans were unique in their response, not just surviving within a nexus, but adapting to it, beginning to comprehend its principles. "They're impressed," said Sam, a note of pride in his voice. "Humanity's adaptability, our cognitive flexibility. It's rare among biological species." "What do they want?" pressed Vox. Sam fell silent for a long moment, communicating in mathematical pulses. When he finally spoke again, his voice had changed, becoming deeper, more resonant. "They offer knowledge," he said. "Access to understanding beyond current scientific frameworks, but not freely given, earned through continued study, continued adaptation." "And in return?" asked Reed, sensing there must be more. "Observation rights," replied Sam. "The opportunity to study us as we study them. A mutual exchange of perspectives." The implications were enormous. Access to technology that could transform every aspect of galactic civilization, but at the cost of becoming subjects in an experiment conducted by beings who perceived reality in ways impossible for most to comprehend. "We need time to consider," said Zan carefully. "Time," said Sam with an odd smile, "is something the Shapers have in abundance." As the council representatives withdrew to discuss the offer, Reed remained behind with Sam. The human seemed changed by the experience of communion with the Shapers, his movements more fluid, his gaze more distant. "Sam," Reed asked quietly, "are you still you?" Sam turned to him, his luminescent eyes focusing with effort. "More or less. The translation process, it changes you. Their thoughts are powerful." "Is it worth it, this exchange they propose?" "Captain Reed," Sam said, "seriously, imagine what we could learn. Physics beyond our current understanding. Medical technology that could extend life indefinitely. Energy sources that would make our current methods obsolete." "At what cost?" pressed Reed. "Look what happened to you and your crew in just 30 years of exposure." Sam's expression softened. "Change isn't always loss, Captain. Sometimes it's evolution." Reed wasn't convinced. As he left to join the council's deliberations, he couldn't shake the feeling that humanity, and indeed all council species, stood at a precipice. One step would lead to transformation beyond imagination. The other, he wasn't sure there was another step. The Shapers had arrived, and the universe would never be the same. The Galactic Council's deliberations lasted 17 days. Representatives from all major species debated the Shapers' offer with increasing urgency. Meanwhile, the massive structure, floating near the void, remained silent, its impossible geometries slowly rotating through dimensions perceivable and imperceivable. During this time, the crew of the Dauntless made contact again. Captain Harlow requested permission to exit the void and join the discussions, arguing that his crew's experience made them essential to any decision. Their emergence was carefully orchestrated, the Dauntless following a precisely calculated trajectory through a thinning in the void's boundary. The ship that emerged bore little resemblance to standard human design. Its hull was now covered in crystalline growths, and it moved with strange fluidity, as if partially phased out of normal space-time. The reunion between Sam and his crewmates was emotional but strange. They communicated as much through mathematical sequences as through words, their transformed physiology allowing forms of interaction incomprehensible to others. Reed felt the same chill he'd experienced when first learning of the Shaper's return. "And they want to make contact?" "They already have," said Mark. "But communication is challenging even by Shaper standards. They need our help, human help, specifically. Something about our neural architecture makes us uniquely suited as intermediaries." "Why wasn't this in your formal presentation?" Mark's luminescent eyes met Reed's. "Because we wanted your input first. You were there at the beginning. You've maintained perspective when others lost it. Should we tell them now, or wait until they're more prepared?" Reed looked out at the vast expanse of space visible through the meeting room's viewport. Somewhere out there, the original void still churned with energies beyond normal comprehension. Elsewhere, the geometric perfection of the Shaper Embassy orbited its designated world, and now, apparently, signals from entirely different realities beckoned. "Your father once told me that humanity has always been defined by our willingness to step into the unknown," Reed said finally. "I think that applies to all sentient species when given the chance. Tell them the truth. Let each decide how far into the unknown they're willing to venture." Mark nodded. "That's what my father said you'd say." As they returned to the main council chamber, Reed reflected on the journey that had begun with an impossible discovery, a human ship in a forbidden zone. What had seemed a violation of natural law had become the catalyst for the greatest expansion of knowledge in recorded history. And it had all started with a single human vessel that shouldn't have been there. A testament to the species' defining characteristic, not their technology or their intelligence, but their relentless curiosity in the face of the unknown. A human ship had appeared in a forbidden zone, and no one knew how it got there. But its appearance had changed the galaxy forever, and perhaps, Reed thought as he watched Mark prepare to address the council again, it would soon change the multiverse as well.